Right, well, good afternoon everybody. Let me first of all introduce myself. I'm Trevor Sandwith, and I'm the director of IUCN's Global Protected Areas Program. And in addition to that, I have the honor to be the director of this Congress. So I'm afraid I haven't been able to participate in very many things. And actually this is the first session that I'm actually being able to participate in. So I think that sort of tells you at least one thing, that we're taking this green list of protected areas really seriously. Just by way of starting, when we started planning this World Parks Congress, we met in South Africa, and that was 5 years after Durban. And we looked at how we were performing against the goals that were set in Durban and our aspirations to have protected areas that are well managed and well governed and achieving all their outcomes. And at that time, people were a bit preoccupied with the idea that we were failing to do that, and that protected areas really should be put on a list of areas in danger, a kind of a red list of protected areas. And you know, we debated that for a while, and we said, you know, this is really not the way to go, because if you look around the world, there are actually areas that are conserving biodiversity, are meeting social and societal economic needs. And so we felt that we should be communicating about the success of protected areas and their potential. So you can even imagine that that discussion almost starts to form what this Congress is trying to do. Let's look at what works. Let's shine a spotlight on that. Let's recognize the amazing efforts that people are making to actually achieve these magnificent outcomes. Let's celebrate the places and the people and the reason for their existence. And so we started a pathway which has been quite a long one, to be honest. Mark is in the front row here, and he was there, so I have to acknowledge Mark Hockings for that. One of the things we felt we could do was to, having assessed whether areas are effective, you often come up with gaps. What's missing, and how to incentivize performance to achieve that. So we said, well, let's focus on that, and let's develop perhaps an international standard that would set the bar for what it means to be successful, not what it means to be the best, because the best is limited to a few. What we think is really important is that every single protected area in the world could aspire to be recognized that it meets why it was set up in the first place. And that's I think all of us, you and I, we believe every person has potential. We don't just write people off as a failure. We say, what can we do to meet the standards? So here we have this, and maybe I don't go on too long and take up the time of the session. The other night when we were able to have a ceremony to actually confer and award the first group of 23 sites with this new coveted gold medal, but it's a green gold medal. I think what I felt was just complete excitement. I was excited, and then every time a group of people came up to represent their areas, one could just see the thrill and the excitement in them, that what they're doing really counts. And this is something we can do. I know there's a lot of work that goes behind this, but there's nothing so necessary and so easy in the way as to say thank you. And so let's start with that. We have probably the most inspiring set of stories that we can tell in this Congress. The press has been all over this issue. Just think, one by one around the world, we could throw a spotlight on each protected area, involving the managers, the agencies, the communities, and achieve recognition, support, profile, influence of what we all think is so important in the world. One by one by one, that map will just get greener and greener. So James said to me, like, be a little bit inspiring. But I'm completely excited about this and its potential. But today, in addition to that excitement, what we want to hear about is what it takes. Because to be credible, to be taken seriously, we need one of the most rigorous processes that we can imagine in nature conservation. We don't want people turning around and saying, your standard is worth nothing because of X, Y, or Z. So we want to make sure that when we list an area on this international green list of protected areas, it really meets that standard. And secondly, that we can support that. So let's go on, and I'm going to start off by just explaining that this session really has two parts. We want to spend the first part going into the technicalities. So you're all here because you want to know more, and we're all here so that we can hear what you experience. We want your feedback. Do you spot any problems? Because over the next 2 years, as we take this whole program forward, we want to get smarter. We want to tighten up the standard. We want to be much clearer about how we do all these different pieces of work. So having all of you as part of us actually figuring that out is going to be very, very valuable. The second part of this session will focus on what's written here as stories from the trenches, but we want to hear from the teams that have been involved in a number of places and in parallel programs who've been helping through the thinking of all of this. So we'll be calling on those colleagues just now. So I think, so I don't take up any more time, I'm going to invite Matthew Wenman-Smith to come up and tell us all about the standard. Here we are at Sydney Olympic Park. What's the bar? Matthew.